How's that?
There we go. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, thanks. Good morning. I just want to bring your attention to a couple of announcements that are on the back of your order of service, just so that you're aware. This week is a pretty busy week. As you can see, coming up on Thursday, June 19th, is our Death Cafe. It's in the lobby here between 6:30 and 8 p.m. And that's an opportunity for you to come, listen, and support those who are suffering from mourning of the loss of beloved individuals. Okay, our circle suppers are still going on, and there are some places at the table of some hosts. You might want to sign up at in the foyer in the back after service. Saturday, we have a busy Saturday as well. Saturday afternoon, we have the drumming. It's the summer solstice, so it's the beginning of summer, although I think summer has already started in Las Cruces. But for the rest of the world, it's going to be on June 21st, 1 to 3 p.m. So if you can handle the heat, you can be out there and there. Saturday night, Saturday evening, the NAACP is going to be holding their Juneteenth banquet at the Convention Center. That will be at 6 p.m. And you can see Jan Thompson for tickets to that event. We usually do have 2 tables of people from the church, and it would be nice to be able to continue with that, to continue to have those 2 tables filled. Okay, the Change for Change this quarter is our Mesilla Valley Community of Hope. As you know, when they pass the basket around later during the service, any change that you put in will go to our Change for Change partner, which again is the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope. All right, thank you.
Good morning, church. I believe our opening hymn is number 124, Be That Guide. Would you rise in body or spirit as you can?
Amen.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Las Cruces. We welcome those of you in our sanctuary and also those of you who are joining us on streaming technology this morning. I'm Charlie Scholz, your service leader. Our minister is Reverend Rod Thompson. Our director of music is Kelly Ingram. And assisting us on tech today are Elwin Nunn, Mike Yazko, and Allison Claire Neal Wallace. Mike also made the slides for the show and the pictures that you'll see. The beautiful chalice table was prepared by Diane Lee and Jillian Lang. Our greeters today are Greg White, you've probably met them already, Carol Casavant, and Jane Ash. And our 6 special speakers today are, in this order, Kelly Ingram, Mike Yazko, Carol Stanfill, Kelly Weston, Mark Sakantarak, and Dale Emmert. We're all delighted to be with you today. If you're visiting, we'd like to meet you. And if you're in the sanctuary, please rise in body or spirit and wait until I bring you the microphone and then tell us who you are and where you're from. Any visitors this morning? I see none. We all know each other. Wonderful. Okay. Mike, any visitors on streaming technology? No one has acknowledged. Okay. Well, we're pleased that you're here in our service this morning. If you are a shy visitor, be sure and fill out a visitor's card and be ready to talk with one of us in the foyer after the service. Unitarian Universalism has no creed or dogma. We are a covenant-based church, meaning that we agree to live in relationship with one another according to the Unitarian Universalist principles, values, and our congregation's covenant of respectful relations. We believe in freedom of religion. We embrace diversity in all its forms, and everyone is welcome here. You can learn more about our church, of course, at our website, uuchurchlc.org. Or, as I say, talk to one of us in the foyer after the service. And please join us after the service for coffee and conversation probably inside today, or outside the Religious Education Building right down the walkway. I've talked to this congregation in the past about my own father and about the joy and pain of being a father, but that's not what this service is about. A few weeks ago, I emailed the congregation to ask if anyone would be willing to talk about their father for today's service. Your response was overwhelming. Thank you. From those who volunteered, I chose 6 individuals, 3 men and 3 women, who will share with us this morning what they thought of their fathers and how they will remember them. And these are their stories. Our chalice lighting this morning was written by Peter Fredericks. For sleepless nights awaiting the curfew breakers, for anxious hours as a driving instructor, for hours spent on sidelines cheering and watching school plays, sometimes resting our eyes, for the pressure of breadwinning and wait till your father comes home, and teaching moments and monitoring moments, and for making up answers when you just don't know because you're expected to know everything, for scrapes and boo-boo kisses and Band-Aids, for hugs and kisses and silliness and play, for bedtime stories and early morning ice time, for all those aftershaves and ties received as gifts, for handing over the car keys and waving goodbye, for father-daughter wedding dances and cradling grandchildren for the first time, for all the moments and all the meaning in the role of a lifetime, we light our chalice for fathers and for fatherhood. And at this point, before we continue our service, I would like to pause for a moment of silence to honor 2 groups of people. Those who stood in the heat yesterday to celebrate No King's Day, and those who have given their lives for our freedom. May we be in silence. And now would you rise in body or spirit and say with me our affirmation of covenant and remain standing as we sing the doxology in English and Spanish. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the creation. Thus do we covenant with one another.
Good morning, church. Good morning, Kelly. For those that don't know it, I carry my morning salutations with me from the church that I grew up in. When Miss Ruby greeted us with her robust good morning, grown folks understood that it was time to stop visiting. And us children knew that it was time to sit down and hush. This was the church my dad raised me in, and the church that he was raised in, and the church that his dad, my pawpaw, was a member of for 70 years. My dad, my dad, John, or Johnny Ray, or Grandpa, or Pop to me, or Daddy if I really wanted something. He was something else. A natural-born athlete. In fact, I think I probably ran track for about a year longer than I actually wanted to because of how happy it made my dad. He was charming. It's obviously where I get it from. And he was silly and hardworking and a good cook and an amazing listener. And he was thankful and he was giving. My goodness, my pop had this amazing way of giving to people without ever giving more than he had to give, which is something I struggle with. And he was magic. I remember when he taught me how to drive a stick shift for the first time, and he forgot until we got there that this particular stop sign was at a steep hill. After several silly words on his part, he told me to remember everything I had just learned and pray. And that he believed I could do it. And I did. I was 12. It was magic. He really was magic. About the time my oldest son, Miles, was born, my dad was climbing into a decade of his terminal 2-year life expectancy lung disease. He had decided to become an amateur magician. He called his business Miles and Miles of Magic. He charged a roll of quarters a show. Field trips, birthday parties, classroom events, and I got to be his assistant. Because of my dad's lung disease, he had to retire early. And this magnetic, outgoing, choir-singing magician became a little lonely. In fact, my dad got so lonely during his days home alone that he would welcome in anybody who came to our door. It wasn't uncommon to come home and see my pop eating potato chips with some friendly Jehovah's Witnesses. Or watching Judge Judy with the local Mormons who had stopped by. You think I like to talk? My dad's passing was the first time in my adult life that I can remember caring what other people thought of me. Everybody kept asking me, "How are you? How are you?" And I couldn't possibly say that I was okay. What would they think if I said I was fine? My dad gracefully fought his disease for 20 years. He really was something else. His influence can be seen in so many parts of my life. In my thankfulness, my culture, the way I do and don't parent my children, in my friendships, in my marriage. My parents met when they were 15. To the way I support others, to the way I carry myself in church. These are gifts that I get to share with those around me and that I get to pass down to my own children, meaning that he lives on, just like magic. Thank you.
Would you please rise in body or spirit and join us in the hymn number 1012, When I Am Frightened. The words will be on the screen.
Strong for me, sing to me. They let me out from behind the booth. I'm here to talk about my father today, as I'm honored to have the invitation from Charlie to do so. My father was born in Gary, Indiana, and spent most of his career working, well, actually, he worked a full entire career at Inland Steel in Chicago, commuting from Indiana to Chicago every single day. And if anybody's familiar with the weather in Chicago, that means scraping a heck of a lot of snow, shoveling your way out of driveways at 3 or 4 a.m. to make it to the city by about 7 a.m. so he could get to work. And that's where I learned my sense of duty, was from my father. He taught me in ways where he led by example, and I am forever grateful for that. I've heard of so many stories from so many folks my age and in older generations where their parents, taught them lessons with a switch or taught them lessons with a beating rather than, teaching them by leading properly by example. I remember when I was young and whenever I needed to go do something and my father was going to take me, we would leave absurdly early. Absurdly early, because he was a firm believer that if you are not 15 minutes early, you're 15 minutes late. And to always plan. Everything must be planned in order for things to go smoothly, and because things will not go smoothly in life. He understood this, that, you always want to have more time than less time. And we would get to my driving lessons at the school at 5 o'clock in the morning. And we would sit there and watch the sun come up because naturally the class didn't start until about 6:15. And we would sit there in the parking lot of the school, the only car in the parking lot every morning, and watch the sun come up listening to Art Bell, Coast to Coast. And I remember those memories so fondly. My father passed away earlier this year at the end of spring, and I still haven't had time to process it yet because as I stepped into his shoes, I had no idea the responsibilities he had and the load that he carried. And as I've done that, I've realized I had dismissed him so many times mentally. I had said, oh, well, he doesn't do enough. He's not ambitious enough. If I was in his place, I would have gotten this done and I would have put our family on this path and et cetera, et cetera. And I didn't realize how much until I stepped into his shoes, became a father, and gained enough wisdom in my life to understand that he was doing all he could just to maintain what we had going on and to make sure that everyone was safe, well taken care of, and would continue to be taken care of even if he wasn't around to be the one who did so. Losing my father was a very difficult thing, even though I had come to terms with it, as he had suffered from Parkinson's for the past 5 years, which slowly evolved into dementia. So it's been a long process to get through that, and I'm just grateful for everything I had. And when I look back on the pictures that I put up here, one thing that struck me was that every time he was a photographer, and every time he was actually in a picture, it was with me. And he was always smiling at me. Every picture I have of him that he did not take, he's with me and he's smiling, and I still believe. I wish I could have found the picture that he was most proud of when I was working at NMSU for the Aggie Sports Network and had him on the field after a football game, and he and I were standing together. I couldn't find that picture, and my mother is still not, she's still very emotionally, I didn't want to bother her. essentially to ask for those pictures. So every picture I have is something that I found in a tub in my room. But I'm happy that I was able to make him proud, and I'm happy now that I was able to realize finally by standing in his shoes all of the things that he had done for me that I had no idea about over the years. Thank you.
No, you could play. You have a Father's Day tune? No, it's okay. Picture my dad, a little 18-year-old young man. He grew up in a family where he was the oldest of 5. Do we look alike? He was the oldest, and his dad always left him in charge. He was raised by an abusive man, a terrible man. His mom learned when the youngest of 5 was young, that the dad was not going to take care of the family. He was a gambler, a drunk, and he was abusive. He never changed. I met him as an adult, and he was still the same. But Dad grew up under that and came out of it at 18 years old, joined the Navy, didn't graduate high school, married my mom. I came along very early. Mom was only 18 and 3 months. Dad was just turned 19. And they did such a super job. My dad was the greatest dad when he was just a kid. He was overseas when I was born, so he met me at 3 weeks old and just fell in love. And I just thought I had the greatest daddy in the world. 2.5 years later, my little brother came along. And we were raised, we decided, by a different man than my later siblings were. I had, the last of 5 was born the day I graduated high school, so we were all spread out. But it was fun to be able to say, I remember Dad doing such and such, and my sister's going, he never did stuff like that with us. But I was very privileged to be the first. I did grow up sleeping in a little dresser drawer because they didn't have a crib, living with Grandma and Grandpa. And from that, we went on. Somebody in the Navy noticed some leadership with him. He was very quiet and calm and just super passive, but he was an excellent Navy person. He was a seaman for many, many years. Somebody noticed one day and said, you should become an officer. So at that point, I was in high school. He didn't have a GED, so we studied together and graduated together. I was 17 and graduating, and he was 19 years older. And from that, he went on to become captain of ships. He went through all the ranks, retired after 45 years in the Navy as a commander of ships. And he was in Vietnam and just became a wonderful leader. In order to do so, he had to get the GED. He had to go to Toastmaster school, they called it, where they learned to speak to the public without shaking. I still can't do that. But he was an excellent Navy captain and retired as a commander. His ashes are now in Arlington Cemetery. So my story I wanted to tell, though, was there was a time when we lived in Arkansas. I happened to look at Facebook, and one of his children, he remarried and had some more children, one of them said he was in the hospital in Orlando. So I hopped in the car. I listened to the universe, and I said, I'm supposed to go. So I went to Orlando, and I hadn't seen him in 35 years. He divorced my mom, married someone else that already had children, had 3 more children. There are 12 of us now. But my sisters and my younger brother were so bitter that they never saw him again. And when I read that on Facebook, I thought, I'm supposed to go. And it was the most wonderful time I have ever had, because I went to Orlando. I'd never been there. I drove. And his family, luckily, had let me have time with him. I rented a motel across the street and visited him for a week. And we talked. He had all his wits about him. He was able to explain things. He knew me exactly. I asked him what it was like when I was a little girl, and he started explaining things that I did. I wish I had more time to think about the things I wanted to ask him. But I think the lesson I learned from that is I came back home and told my sisters and brothers, there are 5 of us, and I said, I had the most wonderful visit. And I could have let him die without ever reconnecting. But after 35 years, we did reconnect. And I went to his funeral. It was a wonderful funeral with a full 21-gun salute and the horses and even when they just have ashes, they have them in a big coffin, and then they hand the flag to his new wife. So the 5 of us got together and got a flag and gave it to my mom because we were all there. So it goes to show that you can be a little kid in high school and do great things. He was the most passive, generous, loving man I've ever known. Thank you.
Would you rise in body and spirit as we sing hymn number 1053, How Could Anyone?
Good morning. When I was growing up, my dad shared his life with me. He took me and my brothers to see the vault in the basement of the Detroit bank where he worked. He insisted that I keep a check register and balance my account to the penny at the end of every month. Better than that was when Dad and I would go to Hudson's department store and ride the escalator 13 floors up to the top and then ride the escalator 13 floors down again. I'd ask him to drive me to Skid Row because I knew not every place was like Birmingham, Michigan, where we lived. And he taught me how to sail so we could take a sailfish out together. If you're not familiar with a sailfish, it's basically a surfboard with a centerboard, a rudder, and a sail. It's easy to capsize and easy to right it and climb back on. That turned out to be a life lesson. There was another life lesson. When I was feeling out of place as a Michigan girl at Smith College in Northampton, Massachusetts, it was my dad who said, "Talk to the other girls in the dorm. Probably some of them feel the same way." That has served me in the many other times I've felt like an outsider. So fast forward a number of years. I was in graduate school at Michigan, working on a master's degree, and realized that was as far as I wanted to go, no PhD. Well, when my dad was the same age, he and Mom were key players in the creation of Black Mountain College in Black Mountain, North Carolina. The best I could do was apply to the Peace Corps. My dad's immediate reaction when I told my parents that I would be going to Ghana to teach in a secondary school, slowly and thoughtfully, he looked at me and said, "I don't know why you want to do this." So, it was my time to share my life with my dad. At the completion of the 3-month Peace Corps training program in Atlanta, I returned home briefly to prepare to fly to Ghana. As he was seeing me off, Dad said, "You know, I like to think that if I were your age, I would be doing the same thing." He got a chance. On a school break, he and Mom and my youngest brother came to Ghana to visit. We went to see friends of mine in a nearby village and sat in a circle outside under a thatched roof, greeting and being greeted by all the villagers. Dad leaned back, he looked around, and he announced, "I bring you greetings from Lyndon Baines Johnson, the President of the United States." I also made sure that he met a banker in the capital city, Accra. I loved watching him adapt to goings-on in a country that he'd never been to before. He and my mom fit in so well that the day before they left to fly back home, 2 women from the village walked to my living quarters on the school compound, head carrying a rooster and a few hens as a going-away gift for them. Looking back, my sense of my dad is that he was not interested in telling his kids what we should do unless we'd really screwed up. Rather, he was curious, he was supportive of the paths that we chose, and he was quite willing to absorb our experiences into his being. He was not demonstrative. He had never given me a huge hug while saying, "I love you." After all, he was born in Connecticut. In the 90s, a few years after my divorce, I moved to North Carolina to live near my dad. He agreed to be a witness at my second marriage to Ernesto Valles, a man who had recently come to the US from Mexico. However, Dad could not bring himself, welcoming as he was to Ernesto, he could not bring himself to return this man hug that Ernesto was accustomed to. But no matter. He was a witness at our Justice of the Peace wedding. He welcomed and entertained Ernesto's parents and many siblings who came to visit us from Mexico and from other parts of the United States. As the song says, I knew I could count on my dad to stand by me. So, thank you.
Hey, when Charlie told me I had only 4 minutes for this presentation, it threw me. How am I going to do that? I can barely say his last name in that time. But I did try. I didn't get good reviews for my first attempt. I made a condensed biography of the person and a compilation of his unique traits. I still have it, and it's packed. What we really wanted was a revealing picture of the special relationship I had with my dad. Maybe just a few of my favorite memories would be sufficient. I kept that condensed biography, and if you have the time to look at it, oh my God, it's even condensed. But I'll spend my time sharing a few memories, and I have plenty of those, picking from them. So let me start by telling you that the picture on the overhead, that's a self-portrait of my dad that hangs prominently in my living room. It hangs there because of what it says to me. I spend a lot of time thinking. That's why I call myself ? I think that self-portrait shows the self my dad saw, which doesn't quite match the dad I remember. The guy that in that picture looks unsure, almost fearful, seemingly afraid to reach out and experience the world. That's odd to me. The dad I remember was endlessly curious, not afraid of failure. He had to try everything that sparked his interest. Sometimes when he got bored with an unfinished project, he would just move on, not really looking back. The theme for my talk today is, my dad never grew up, thankfully. Dad included me and my 4 younger brothers in adventures he dreamt up, either for himself or to inspire us, or maybe both. He took us on primitive campouts, rock climbs, bike trips, challenging hikes, hikes on historical trails, canoeing trips, etc., etc., etc. On one of those canoeing trips, he took me and one of my brothers down the Potomac River, beyond the tidewater line, where the river widens and the water is brackish. There, the river gets so wide, it is really part of the Chesapeake Bay. When the wind starts blowing, the waves are a bit much for a canoe, and it did blow. We ended up not getting as far as we had hoped. We spent the first night on an offshore sandbar, a little above what we'd figured was the high tide mark. We slept under the overturned canoe in front of a driftwood fire. We headed home the next day, satisfied. Second special memory. My dad would include me, or rather drag me into his projects if he needed help. I was always the lucky one because I was the oldest. He drafted me to help him build a 2-story extension to our house. It took all summer to build, but I learned a lot. It was a big job for a 14-year-old, but I'm proud of what we did together. A third memory. One of my closest childhood friends, Alan Tabor, he was a very smart guy himself, loved to be around my dad. His dad, both accomplished and devoted, a father-knows-best adult, was not as much fun as my dad. I think Al envied me. My dad kept a spare VW microbus engine to work on in the kitchen of the extension we built. On occasion, he would swap out motors. Also, he kept an old VW Carmangia in the backyard that he intended to use to make a hovercraft. He never got around to that. And he never found the time because he always had so many things going on. He had tools scattered all around the house. To Al, it was a gold mine. Okay, 4 minutes is about up, so I'll wrap up this rambling talk by saying, how much? I can ad-lib more stories. I'm not going to do that, though. There are other people. I'll wrap up this rambling talk. You can ask me later if you want about stories. I got a million of them. I'll wrap it up by saying my dad kept the energy and curiosity of a child. He was free-thinking, stubbornly unconventional, somewhat undisciplined, well, maybe more than somewhat, emotionally volatile, oh my God, and both loving and caring. I wouldn't change a thing. Thanks to my dad, my brothers and I are independent, curious, free-thinking people. And I know I was loved.
Thanks, Russ. Would you join me in 10:13, Open My Heart? Rise and body your spirit.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Shirley. Peggy. Everybody. My father grew up, isn't that a great picture? My father grew up on a farm in southern Minnesota. You could say that he left the farm, but the farm never left him. He left the farm to attend Northwest Bible School in Minneapolis, where he met my mother. After he was ordained as a minister, he served a church in Lone Tree, North Dakota, where two of my siblings were born. I was born in Nebraska, and after he had attended Peru State University and Central Seminary in Kansas City. And if you go back to the other picture, I'm the cute blonde kid on the right. Definitely the best looking of the bunch, as you can see, right? Being a minister in rural communities, he would preach on Sundays, but quite often be out in the fields helping farmers during the week. He also had a talent for fixing cars, trucks, and tractors that people would bring him. I still have the Bible he used so many times in the pulpit with notes scrawled in the margins. I could probably reconstruct one of his sermons just from those notes. Eventually, Dad served churches full time and did not have to do any farm work. And I think that took away part of his life that he enjoyed and put him in the middle of too much church drama, and he didn't deal with it very well. He was accused of not preaching the gospel and fired from a church while I was in high school. I was becoming rather outspoken at the time, which probably didn't help the situation either. Judging or condemning people was not his thing. He focused on helping people grow in the Christian faith. During this era, some Baptists liked to condemn Catholicism, but Dad wanted nothing of that. Some people left our church because he participated in a wedding of a Catholic with a Baptist. Home for summer after a year of college, I was a little shocked to find out that since he was mechanically inclined, Dad had decided to purchase a gas station. Things did not go well with that, although I did learn how to patch tires, change oil, and lube chassis. Dad eventually returned to a country church, living in a farmhouse, doing chores and driving a milk truck along with preaching on Sunday. Later on, Mom and Dad took on the challenge of being group home parents for developmentally delayed youth. Gardening was another favorite activity for Dad. He raised massive amounts of tomatoes, okra, strawberries, corn, asparagus, everything. So one of my first jobs was going door to door selling tomatoes to people. I used to hate it when he would come in the house and say, "Dale, I need your help," because I knew I would be stuck under a vehicle helping to fix something. Many times the process was trial and error, which taught me perseverance and to keep working until something is fixed right. Dad didn't talk much and never preached at me, except for asking me when I was going to get a haircut. I was pretty much left to grow up and make my own decisions. Although he didn't say much, Dad did teach by example. He was hardworking, always kind, and generous, and very slow to anger. That was my father.
Thank you, presenters. I really appreciate that. The operation and outreach of our church needs your input and contributions. This is a perfect time to think about what you want to give back. In a moment, the greeters will pass among you with the offering baskets. We'd ask you to please give generously. But before they do that, I want to remind you that our Change for Change, this is a designation by the Social Justice Committee, is the Mesilla Valley Community of Hope. And their mission is to promote dignity and empowerment among the homeless population by providing shelter services, case management, income support, and permanent housing programs in Las Cruces and Doña Ana County. You can give to them by putting your change in the basket or by writing change for change on the note line of your check. Please give generously.
Child was born the other day. He came into the world in the usual way, but there were shifts to cover, bills to pay. He learned to walk when I was away, and he was talking for I knew it. And as he grew, he'd say, I'm gonna be like you, Dad. You know I'm gonna be like you. And the child, cats in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you coming home, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. My son turned 10 just the other day. He said, thanks for the ball, Dad, come on, let's play. Can you teach me to throw? I said, not today. I got a lot to do, he said, that's okay. And he walked away, but his smile never dimmed. He said, I'm gonna be like him. Yeah, you know I'm gonna be like him. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you coming home, I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then. And the cat's in the cradle and the silver spoon, little boy blue and the man in the moon. When you coming home, and I don't know when, but we'll get together then. You know we'll have a good time then.
Our closing words are adapted from Lorraine Buttorff McNeil. Father's Day is where we honor and offer gratitude for our fathers in whatever form or fashion they have come into our lives. Biological fathers, stepfathers, adoptive and foster fathers, grandfathers, spiritual fathers, and all those uncles and brothers and friends, whether they knew it or not, have helped fill the role of father in someone's life. We've been shaped by their presence and their absence, by how they chose to act and when they abstained, by what they said and when they remained silent. Let us remember today and always the impact that these people have had on us as individuals and as our community. And let us also remember that this relationship is not one-sided, and that we as a community are called to support and empower the fathers of the world, no matter how they came into their roles and regardless of their relative success or failures. Let us raise up their triumphs, and let us have the grace to forgive them of their all too human failures. Let us love our fathers and each other. May it be so. Would you join me in the closing hymn, My Life Flows On, number 108, Please Rise in Body or Spirit.
Creation
Would you please join me in singing the words to extinguish our flame? The words are on the screen. We extinguish this flame.
Oh, old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you were. Old man, look at my life. 24 and there's so much more. Live alone in a paradise that makes me think of you. Love lost, such a cost. Give me things that don't get lost, like a coin that won't get lost, rolling home to you. Old man, look. Thank you. Old man, old man. No, that's not. Old man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. Oh, one look in my eyes and you can tell that it's true. Lullabies look in your eyes, run around the same old town. It doesn't mean that much to me, to mean that much to you. I've been first and last, look at how the time goes past, but I'm all alone at last, rolling home to you. Old man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I need someone to love me the whole day through. Oh, look at my eyes. You can tell that it's true.